I just want to say thank you for everybody for joining. And I think it's just great for our community to get together. I want to show that, you know, the amazing people we have in our community from business and the creative side, and just to show Haiti in a different life. That's the whole reason of the Haiti International Film Festival. And when I see you, I see Regina, I see Bechir, Janae, you guys all inspire me. And I think as collective doing this whole, era now of COVID, and Black Lives Matter, and Haitian Lives Matter too. I think it's important for us to show our community and the brilliant things that we're doing. So,
well, first of all, I want to say congratulations for the 5th year. This is the 5th annual of the Haitian Film Festival. Everybody, let's just give ourselves a little clap. You know, Haïtien là, mes amis, messieurs. You know, celui qui parle français, je peux parler français aussi. Si tu veux parler français, c'est pas un problème. Mais en tout cas, c'est pour Haïtien à faire ça. Je dis à nous là. Because we're here to celebrate the 5th annual of the film festival. This is a festival that's been going on for a while. So if you're here and you're wondering, how did I miss this? Where did this come from? This is the perfect time, especially now we're in COVID. This is the perfect time to really look into the film industry, us in the film industry, and how we implement this. And that's why we're starting off with this panel today specifically, because we're going to talk to some producers and some very top heads in the industry that's going to really talk about the business about the industry. Because the one thing that we need to learn is learn more about the industry and the education that we need to learn about all the little details as far as how to produce a film, how to even start. Because a lot of us have a lot of inspiration, especially growing up in the islands. That is not something that we are pushed to do, but we have people that are here to tell you it is possible, and it is possible to strive all the way to the top. So thank you guys for being here for our first panel at the 5th annual Haitian International Festival.
Yeah, I'm just so I'm just so happy that we all get together, and just being the executive director of the Haiti International Film Festival is our 5th year, and just to see it grow for our humble beginnings until like now. And it really takes teamwork for this to happen, from our board members, from the panelists to the filmmakers. It really takes a village. And just to see it grow and blossom with all you guys' energy and creativity and insight. And I'm just excited that we're taking this virtual. Haitians don't stop nous pas. I'm gonna let you do the Creole today.
Nous pas arrêter style, man. Nous toujours marcher, nous toujours frapper. N'a toujours là, n'a toujours campé droite, man. Bien vague. But we're not gonna take everybody's time, so we're gonna start right at it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce our panel today. We have Florence, Regina for all these people that she's gonna be our moderator. Please, Regina, can you tell a little bit about yourself so people could know who you are, and then we're gonna go down the line for everybody as well.
Sure. My name is Florence Regina. I'm an actor, producer, and speaker. I have started out in the industry as an actress and blossomed into producing. I've done a lot of television shows and commercials and different things like that. And at some point I wanted to start telling my story. So I got into producing, being an independent producer, and striving out there. On the other hand, I have diabetes, and I became a part of the American Diabetes Association. I was on the African American Task Force. That's how I became a speaker. I started speaking out about that. And then as I grew into producing, I started talking about the industry and meeting people and doing different things, I've done a couple of Haitian events. I love supporting my community, and I've been out there. That's how I met our executive director, Jacquil. So, I'm gonna leave it right there.
Thank you.
I'm really happy.
We're very happy. We're very happy to have you. Next, no problem. I'm sorry. There's like a little delay, so I don't know if I'm interrupting anybody. So I apologize if I do. My apologies. The next up is Dominique Telson. You like that? Please introduce yourself to the world and let us know exactly, your position. And we're very happy to see you here.
Thank you. My name is Dominique Telson, as you said, Dominique Telson, and I've been around for a very long time in different ways, from, starting in college, Hunter College, journalism major, then went to work for ABC doing editorials. From editorials, moved to work in doing acquisitions. Acquisitions is basically where you look at finished films and you say, oh, yeah, I think this could go on the network. So I did that for Showtime. And the way I got into producing is that I started seeing every year that, that I'm the Black person in the department. So Dominique, what are we going to do for Black History Month? Go get me some Black films. So I'm like looking. And I just realized that after a while, like if they just had a little more money. So one year I had $30,000 left in our budget for the Showtime budget. And I said to my boss, hey, you know what? We have $30,000 left. I did well because I saved us money. But, instead of giving this money back to Showtime, what if we made a contest and we gave it to the next up and coming filmmaker? Remember, I worked for Showtime at the time, and HBO, of course, was #1. And we were okay with that. But I figured that if we could give them an opportunity early, maybe when they get to be big, they'd come back and direct for us. And so great idea. But now who's going to run it? So I walk over to our little Viacom Pictures, because they did the movies department, and they said, $30,000. We cannot work with $30,000. Surely you must be kidding. And so I said, you know what, if you teach me how to do it, I'll do it. So we did, and we started running this Black Filmmaker Short Film Showcase contest. And I was able to learn how to produce, and the filmmakers were able to get an opportunity to produce. And that led to my love of producing, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. That's awesome. That's definitely awesome. And we have last with Janae Desire. We are here with her.
It's actually Desiree.
Desiree?
Desiree?
Oh, my bad. My bad.
Are you half Haitian and half? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so my last name is Haitian, my dad's last name, and my mom is American. So yeah,
okay,
it's
cool.
Desiree. Yeah.
Desiree. Desiree. Okay, cool.
I'm Janae Desiree. I'm an executive at CAA in the Media Finance Group. It's the group that handles all of the independent films that are coming from clients, or we're selling films at film festivals. So my group handles that. I got my start similar to Dominique. I started out in unscripted and news, and I started in documentary, and then I went to ABC News in their long form division, doing projects for Oprah Winfrey Network, the TLC network. There are magazine style news shows for those networks. And then I went on to do a music festival, and then transitioned to scripted television and film, and have been doing that ever since. I've been in, before I joined CAA, I was at Participant Media. So my background is as a development executive, which is essentially similar. It's like an in-house producer. So that's what I've been doing. And at CAA, I get to work with some amazing clients and, agents on my teams that are really selling great projects. And I'm helping to identify projects and trying to be the only Black woman in the room who is pushing stories by us, for us, about us, and by and for other people of color. And yeah, that's the little stamp I'm trying to place on the world. So
definitely not a little stamp. Everybody in here is doing some incredible moves, and we are very happy and proud to have you guys to do what you guys do. They say it all the time, and it's sad that it's now that we're finally opening up our minds to understand that, Black women do run the world. So I appreciate you guys running it and doing the things that you do to push the story forward. So I'll leave it to you, Florence, for the panel. And yeah, I'm definitely excited to listen to you guys.
Thank you, Bechir. I appreciate that. And I would also like to thank everyone for being here for the 5th annual Haiti International Film Festival. Ladies, we have gotten started and we are on a roll. Now, here's my first question to you both, okay? You've clearly broken barriers in the industry, okay? What has been your secret, okay? What is your secret sauce to getting to where you are today? How did you do it? Now,
I mean,
start with Dominique. No, you go right ahead.
Who's going, me or me first,
no,
or Janae? Me? Okay. Oh, you point at me. I'm pointing at you. So you know what? I kind of told you my story of how I got started in producing. But what I kind of fast forwarded to is now I'm working for a company called Astute Films, and I'll tell you a little bit about. So when I was working at Showtime, you're an executive, you know, and you get a lot of perks, and it's really, really lovely. But then there's a little beating in your heart that says, I kind of want to do my own thing. And so I decided I was ready to do that. And I've said before on panels, like I discovered, you know, poverty. It's hard when you don't have a network, you know, kind of paying you. And so a person that I had worked with before knew that I was trying to make it as an independent producer and said, look, I know this is not what you want to do, but have a company that needs coverage, but they don't want coverage like an assistant or an intern. They want coverage of somebody who's been in the industry, and they'll pay you for it. And it was a nice salary, but I was a little bit insulted, like coverage. But you know what? I did coverage for them for 4 years, and the company turned out to be Astute Films. And then when they decided, you know what, what they told me is they said, look, we've been listening to you and what you've been writing in your coverage for 4 years. And now we want to start our own production company, and we can't think of doing it with anybody but you. And it was great because I didn't have to prove myself anymore. I had already written you coverages and told you my complete opinion because I did not care what you thought. I just knew what I knew. And so, and it's been the best thing. And Janae didn't say it yet, but guess what? Janae and we fought on opposite sides, worked on opposite sides, let's say it that way. And as of Friday, we are closed on a project that I'm so excited to do. And it's going to be with my sister here on the Zoom. And it just closed on Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm really happy, Janae. So I can't wait to meet you in person, but
I know, I'm so happy too.
Me too.
Yeah.
And for me, similar. And for me, similar to what Dominique said, I think the thing for me is, you know, I've always kind of been whether that was in elementary school or when I went to Rutgers University, I've kind of always been the only one in the room. And I had to learn that I'm very opinionated. And I think that
same.
that is the secret. And I think that, you know, we can't, I got into this industry, I transitioned from unscripted and news into scripted for a reason. And it was because I wanted to be able to push stories forward that I didn't think were reflective in what I was seeing. And when I traveled, I saw other Black girls and boys, and they didn't see images of themselves. I lived in Brazil for a little bit, and I was a dance teacher, and these young girls and boys who looked like me, they had never met someone who spoke English that was from New York that wasn't Beyonce. Like Beyonce was the only thing that was Black to them. And something so unattainable. And Brazil has the largest population out of Africa in the diaspora, and they don't see images of themselves. And I realized that it's the same in the US. We don't see enough images and stories about what the experience is to be Black, or to be just what the world actually looks like. And that's why I transitioned into that. And I knew that that was something that I could bring to the table that my non-BIPOC colleagues could not bring, was my perspective as a woman and as a Black woman, as a person that's, you know, the first generation of an immigrant. So those are things that I knew that were going to help me. And even when I started out as an assistant at Pivot TV and then at Participant Media, I always, my opinion on things, especially if it were projects that were focused on an experience of someone who was not white, that was the strength that I had, and that was my secret. And I think that when you are able to speak from a place of, this is what I know, and I don't respectfully don't care what you think, because this is what I know, I think that's a strength, and I think people see that they need that more. And they leaned into it. And I think that has been, I definitely attribute that, other than knowing the work and doing the work, to being able to continue to climb this ladder of entertainment.
Wow. I totally get what you guys are saying. I feel that. Now, let's move on to today, okay? Right now, this period in time, we are dealing with a pandemic. You know, we have protesters in the street. We have the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, which is really allowing us to demand change, okay? How is that affecting you? How is that affecting your productions, you know? How do you see this helping us move the Black experience into a better place in the industry? You know? Now, I know I said 3 things there, but let's start with how it's affecting you. Let's go with Janae this time. Janae.
So how Me Too and COVID are affecting me personally and my job, or?
Yeah, personally and at your job, because
okay.
One of the things about that is it's really affecting people of color to make a change.
Absolutely.
It's really demanding that not just the entertainment industry, but everyone take another look at us.
Yeah, so for me, I think the thing for me where Me Too and COVID and Black Lives Matter have personally affected me is, like, I've had to kind of take a step back and realize what are the things that are important to me. You know, although I love what I do, but if I don't have a sense of peace for myself, then I'm not going to be a good employee. I'm not going to be a good friend. I'm not going to be, and those are things. So I've also learned that, you know, it's okay to say that you're not okay, that you need to take time. There's this thing that I'm seeing now that says, you know, this notion that there's the strong Black woman, but how detrimental that can be. And, you know, especially I started to see it more this year with BLM, with Black Lives Matter. You know, it came to a head at my company. I've only been at CAA now for a year and a half. And this was right before COVID, when unfortunately we watched, you know, Ahmaud Arbery and then George Floyd, and then Breonna Taylor happened in several months. And then when George Floyd happened, it just, we were tired. We felt like it's a lot to put on a face and to go to work every day and to be positive and to push through when you see your community being so affected and no one is saying anything about it in the workspace, but I've got to continue to work through. And I think colleagues of mine that are Black, and then some allies, were like, enough is enough. We need to not hold the people outside there accountable, but we need to hold ourselves accountable. And we've had conversations and we've had groups, you know, discussions, and saying that, you know, we need to acknowledge what's going on, and that you need to understand that your colleagues, your Black colleagues, are not okay during this time. And then in terms of COVID, I think as it's affected everyone in the industry is, you know, things have kind of slowed down. I mean, productions have halted. They're starting to build back up in certain countries. But then there's the question of, like, insurance, and then, you know, and then what is that going to look like? Like, what are the systems in place, and how do we make sure are people going to live on one lot, or are they going to be able to leave home? So it has slowed things down, but also in the same time, when I started CAA, the WGA thing happened, so it kind of slowed things down a little bit. So it's kind of been this, like, this kind of ebb and flow, I feel like, for the last year and a half. And, you know, I just think that, again, it's important that it's no longer Black people and indigenous groups and Latinx people or Asian people talking about the things that are affecting them. We need our white allies, honestly, at the front lines trying to fix what has happened. And I think once people acknowledge and learn from the mistakes of the past, I think that's the only way that we can continue to move forward.
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask you something about that. So you are feeling the support of your Black colleagues now that you guys have, of your white colleagues now that you guys have started speaking about it?
I think so, but again, it's all a learning lesson. So everyone's not going to get everything right. You know what I mean? Like right away. But it's like now that we've held these forums where it was all of the Black colleagues, executives and agents, and some coordinators who got to speak to the board members and were like, this is what we want. And this is what we want you to do, not for us. And it's really been great. And they've been open and they've been putting out these materials for people to read. And they've had these internal conversations of just white colleagues for them to kind of figure out what is going on internally. We got the day off, which is great. And I think that, you know, there needs to be more of that, but that's a step in the right direction. And now that a lot of us that are non-white, we feel that we've had a place to speak up. I think that when we see things that are making us uncomfortable, we need to continue to just speak out and say, this is not right. Y'all need to fix it. So.
Okay. And what about you, Dominique?
Probably a little bit of a different experience because I don't work for a big corporation. You know, I don't work for, like, it's just 4 of us. So, and, you know, sometimes you work with people that think, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say that, but so it's really, but I do feel that the difference of all of this is, to me, wonderful. It opens up the world to, like, wait a minute, there is really a revolution going on and you need to open your eyes to it. And I also feel like it says, you know, there are Black stories that need to be told and they're worthy. And yes, you have been taking a lot of our stories and we're not going to stand for it anymore. I feel like there's a little bit of a power shift of being able to tell our stories ourselves. And I'm, for one, am loving it. And I think it will continue. And I think that the Black audience as a whole has woken up to that we need to support each other, and not just, and be aware of that and do that diligently, not just, I didn't like that version of Harriet. You know, no, we have to support one another. And and guess what really talks? The money. So support it with what you buy in the store, support it with what you buy at the movies, support it with what you're doing. That's really what is important. And I feel that the movement has helped us realize that. So I'm loving it. I have 3 daughters, and for them, I'm so glad for them to see it. I feel like they're kind of coming onto the world at a time where they can really kind of take the mantle and the power that I feel like I've tried to give them as much as I can and really go somewhere. I'm so excited for this generation, Janae's generation, and what they're able to do. And places like Macro, who are just kind of taking on, and like, I'm Black and I'm proud, and I'm just loving it. And then, you know, I work with a lot of talent, and I feel like even they are kind of like want to support one another. Like, who's running your company? Who are you dealing with? What are you doing to, you know, raise a hand back? And so all of this, I think it's wonderful. And by the way, I don't want to gloss over that a lot of pain, you know, has happened for us to get here. But I'm hoping that pain will not be for nothing. It'll be to do what it's doing right now, which is bringing us to the next level, as a people. In terms of COVID, a whole nother story. I was in the middle of production, 2 weeks into production. I was so busy with my production. I was not really paying attention. You know, it's not easy. You work many, many, many hours as a producer. And we were in production, and it was a first-time filmmaker. And COVID hit, and I was getting calls from agents and managers going, so are you shutting down? Are you shutting down? And I was like, what are you talking about? 2 weeks ago, we're not shutting down. And that was Friday the 13th. I had my March 13th. I had my biggest team that day, all the actors and crew who had a person. We were doing a courtroom scene. Andy McDowell was our lead, and we were going to do this courtroom scene, and anybody who had a friend come down that day, it was a big day. And then I get home Friday night, I'm exhausted. And this is like ignoring many calls that said that are you shutting down? I'm like, no. by Saturday at 4, I had to send out an email that told all my cast and crew that we were shutting down for COVID. We didn't know what to do. I had a British filmmaker. He was like, I'm staying, Dom. And, I'm like, okay, so, but within a few days, we knew what was happening and we had to shut down. And so right at this very moment, we're trying to kind of come back to production. And as you all probably read, there's so many rules coming from all the different unions, and it's not one place yet. And the actors are a little nervous, but they want to work. So I'm right now in the middle of putting together our COVID plan for the next productions and trying to figure it out and trying to get approval. It is a lot of work for us to figure it out. And so I'm hoping that we can get to finish it in the next couple of weeks. And then I have another production that's going in the UK at the end of the year in November. And they're a little ahead of us. So I'm hoping that I'll learn a lot from what they're doing and be able to do our production. I don't know which one is going to go first. But the hardest thing about COVID is figuring out what do we do? How do we continue our business and make sure everybody's safe? But the one thing COVID has taught us, and I'm sure Janae will agree, is that people like to see entertainment, movies, series. This is how we have survived. And so we need to continue doing what we're doing. It's not brain surgery, but it is helpful to identify, help, you're not alone, all of these things. So, and I love what I do.
Exactly, I get that. Now, with all of this, with COVID and the way everything has been affecting you lately, it's been going on like this for people of color for so long. You know what I mean? It's just COVID is an addition to all of that. Because in the entertainment industry, a lack of diversity has always been a given, and now we have this, we have all of these different groups standing up and wanting to tell their stories. What advice do you give to emerging, film producers and others who want to get in the industry about getting started now? What advice do you give them? The reason I ask that and I say now, because it's like you said, we have to be so careful going out. Whether it's COVID, whether it's, getting our stories told, everything. Do you feel they're making a way for us to come in? What advice do you want to give?
We got to make our own way. What are you talking about? We have to make our own way. Come on. You can't go in with that. Sorry.
No,
this
that's
is a
okay.
passion for me.
I like that you feel
can't go in that way. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to be the Black person. No, you got to go in and have conviction in your story. And, if a story, how we figure it out where I am, if a story stays with you and you can't get it out of your head and which is how I feel about the project I'm doing with Janae, it's just like something that grabs you and you have the passion, and you better have the passion because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get to do it, but you have to go in with the passion and the strength and the determination. And if you're going to let yourself, I'm not saying that there's not issues that we all have to deal with, but if you're going in giving yourself that crutch, you then sit down. You're probably not going to get there because it's not easy.
No,
I agree, and I just think networking is going to clearly change now, but we Jacquil said when we started, we're able to now meet virtually and meet with people that we may not have met, on the other that might be on the other side of the world or on the other side of the country. And I think now that people are at home, whether you have this idea for, let's say, a podcast, just do it. Whether you have this idea to write a script, you have the time now. Sit down and write it, and then you can virtually have create your own writer's room and connect with people and share notes and still do the work. It may not be in the traditional way, but these are things that people have been doing before COVID that you can still do in COVID, but we need to just do the work. And as Dominique said, don't stand on this crutch that we need someone to help us. I think when you start to do the work, people will see that you're doing the work. And then you might get more opportunities, but it's up to you to create that path for yourself.
I'm in agreement with you both. Now, what are some key things that you wish you knew when you were getting started? Let's go with Dominique.
Oh, shucks. Okay. You know what? When I was at Showtime, I was an exec, and I was raising my family and doing all, you're doing so many things. And so but I met a lot of people. I have a good, I'm always very straightforward with people. I think I'm good that way, but I wasn't so great at, keeping networking and as much as I probably should have. Like I have people that I've worked with, that I should have kept in touch with that I didn't do. And honestly, I was known at one time as the woman who had the 3 kids. Like, how are you doing? I was flying to Lithuania to produce something, so it was enough to kind of keep the family in the house going and trying to do this gift of a job that I had been given, to be a producer at Showtime. So perhaps, and then when I became an independent producer, I didn't realize that they shut off your email. So I had lost a lot of connections, and that's still probably what I should have taken care of. But I've been able to bounce back. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I think the same. I think the same thing for me. I think that I always knew that it was important to network, and I can go in a room and I can connect with several people, and that's actually how I got my first job in the narrative space, which is why I came out here. When I moved to LA, I got at a networking event from just talking to someone who was leaving and he was looking for a replacement. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys do the type of things, projects that I'm passionate about, and the type of stories I want to tell. This is the perfect job. And I did that from networking. But like Dominique, sometimes when you get into your rhythm with life and other things, you forget that there are certain people that you should reach out to. And sometimes I think in my head, I'm like, I should just reach out to this person. But I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to him in 5 years. And then I just don't. And then 5 years, 2 years become 5 years, 5 years become 10 years. So it's just, I think for me also, especially now in COVID, I have been reaching out to people that I haven't stayed connected with. I think COVID is a good excuse, but now I just hope when we do get out of it that I'm continuing it with that. And I also think for me, because I did transition from the news world to the entertainment, film, television world, I didn't realize how different the two are, though they're very similar. They're 2 totally different worlds, and I didn't really understand the business side of film and television. In New York, whether you're a news documentary, it's more on the ground, freelancer, guerrilla style. You know what I mean? Like
big difference.
It's a big difference. It's a huge difference. And I think when I first came to LA, I thought I was going to get my jobs like I got every job in New York, which was honestly just applying to them and getting them. And that was not the case. So I just think
not in LA.
That, not in LA. So I just think, again, for the producers that are watching and listening to this, network, other than doing the work and knowing the work, networking is probably the biggest thing, because if you know your stuff, you know it. But if you don't have the right people to maybe help you or to open a door for you, whatever you know, what you do, it's only, I think, going to get you to a certain level, because at the end of the day, you want to still find those gatekeepers that can really take you to the next level.
I also want to say that, this film festival is Zoom right now, but this is a great opportunity, because the project that I was just talking about, I met that filmmaker at Sundance. She found a way to get to me. She came and talked to me. And honestly, when she came, she was like, first time filmmaker, and she told me her story. I was like, yeah. But she followed up and she sent me the script. And guess what? The script was pretty darn good. And so I had to pay attention. But if she had not spent her money to go to Sundance and try to meet people, it wouldn't have happened. So I encourage anybody who's listening, go to these film festivals. Janae will probably be there trying to sell a film. Like, now you know what she looks like, go find her. You know what I mean? And go to these film festivals. They really do help. They really do teach you things. And the connections that you make are phenomenal. Can be.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you both. Now, I want to turn it over for questions from our audience. Okay, and I am Bechir. Should I ask you guys? We'd like to get some questions from our audience and for our panelists. Hi there. Maybe.
There's no.
There we go.
Questions from our audience?
Yeah, I don't, at this time, I don't think they have any questions right now, but if anybody.
Okay, well, we've opened up. We're open for questions at the moment, but I can go on with my next questions to our panelists because I do have some questions I can ask you. All right, should we move on?
Yes, I think, actually I have a question for Dominique. How, oh, I guess we do have one. Let's see, preacher, listen to us, and yes. What would you say were some, remember you talked about your secret sauce. Would you say, was it mentorship? Was it reading books? What were the things that gave you that extra edge?
I think I'm ready to, no matter what I was doing, I'm always ready to roll my sleeves up and get to do whatever it is. I love stories. I really do enjoy, have a curiosity for people and what their stories are. And I think when I'm a producer on a set, I'm giving out my secret, but the biggest thing that I feel like I do is when I hire my team, the team from the director, of course, is the director, but everybody that's going to be around that person, I try very much to get people that are very skilled at what they do, not necessarily the most experienced, but very skilled and very passionate about what they do. Because if you have a passion for the project that I'm working on the way I do, or even close to the way I do, then we're all going to work together for the common goal. If you came here because you thought you're going to meet somebody or whatever, that it's not going to work. So I very much try to make sure that the team that's working on the project wants to be there for the right reasons, and wants to play in the sandbox. And the sandbox is to support the vision of usually my director by this point, if we're on a crew. But I feel like my biggest probably gift is to support my filmmaker and make sure that we're on the same page, first of all, and then that we really get that team spirit to make it happen. And I've been doing it a long time, and I feel like that's one of the reasons I feel like I got the project at CAA that Janae was working with. Despite many many opportunities for her to go with way bigger people, I would say Janae can really attest to that. I think that's what it was. She knew that I understood what she wanted to do, and I'm going to support her in doing what she wants to do. And so it's become kind of my trademark. And so I'm working on some fantastic projects.
And just to piggyback off of what Dominique said, I think that's another reason why I feel it's very as important as it is that we have great filmmakers that are Black, or Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We also need the producers. We also need the executives. I don't know where this project could have landed, or where it would have landed, or who it would have landed with if, let's say, Dominique and I were not on the other sides of those tables. So when I read this, and then I 100%. Knew that there's this company that I think they're going to get it because the type of films that, I know that they've gotten before, but then you tell me that there's a Black female, executive there. I'm like, okay, no, if I get it, I think she's going to get it. And it's just something that when you have two people that can see an experience, and it's an experience of their own, and they're passionate about it, they're both going to fight to move it forward. And I think that's why it's really important. If there's anyone here who, is questioning if they want to be a filmmaker or a producer or an executive, like, you should do it. We need more of us there to be pushing these projects forward.
but it's
I got a
not
question.
easy.
Yeah, I have a question for both of you guys, you know, and I see this a lot with certain people that do have the motivation, they do have the passion for it, but sometimes they're not prepared. And that's one of the biggest issues that I have with a lot of people, is that they'll have the passion, they'll have the drive, and then when you'll be like, okay, cool, present this, and they don't. So what are the advices? What are the tools? What are the things that they need if they were to approach you at a festival, if they were to contact you? What do you need them to have at first? Because, you know, people will bombard you all day, but then, you know, very few are able to basically do the work. So please let people know what the simplest thing, at least the one few steps that they need to do in order before they even approach you, what they need to have at hand. And that's for both of you guys.
Well, I mean, before you approach anyone, you know, I think if you have a great idea, that's fine. But learning how to structure a script, or learning how to put a treatment together, or even a look, like learning those things, and then understanding and knowing who are the people in the rooms at these companies, you know, knowing that I'm not going to take a project about, I wouldn't take a project, let's say, just, you know, a superhero action story that had no social commentary to participant media, and then I wouldn't take a film that I take to participant media to a company that only does comedies. Knowing who the players are, knowing what companies are, understanding the difference between a studio, a financier, a production company, knowing those things, then you're going to know who you're going to go to. So if you come to me and I can tell you haven't done your research, you're pitching, but your pitch doesn't really seem structured or make sense, I know you haven't done your research, and it's going to be hard for me to want to engage with you. So knowing all of those things is what you need before you even approach anyone. And I say that it's not just about knowing how to write a script and put those together, but understanding who the production companies out there are, who the players are, knowing what their slate is, and understanding the type of films and projects that they are putting together. That's going to help you in the process before you even go approach someone.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, education and research, Janae?
Do your homework.
Absolutely. Do your homework.
Do
Absolutely.
your homework, because you could, you know, so many people pitch for the wrong people. You know, they'll have, you know, if you're going to pitch to HBO, you should know the content of HBO. If you're going to pitch to Showtime, you should know the content of Showtime. You know, you should know all these things, because I feel like a lot of people, they have the passion, but they don't do the homework. And that's one of the easiest things to do. So I definitely agree. And thank you for saying that, because I think that people need to hear that from you guys, because sometimes they just go, oh man, I'm just going to approach it. I'm gonna be like, yo, help me out with this thing. And you're like, and then they get mad and get salty, and you're like, dude, but you don't even know her last name. You can say Desiree instead of Desiree. You know, we're saying Desiree. You know, if you messing it up already, you already messed up.
Fine. We don't have the accents on the Zoom, so it's okay. You get a pass.
Thank you, Bechir. Dominique, would you like to answer the question?
I mean, I think it gets even more basic of like know what you're gonna say. Like, you can approach me with the and it kind of, you know, and like don't waste my time. Like, have a story, know at least what your story is gonna be, and then when you send it to me, proofread it. You know, you can spell check. Like I you know, that's, so I even know how good it is. You know, I know how much work I have to put into a project. So why am I going to start with teaching you grammar? It's too much. So just, you know, make it look professional. Know how to articulate what you're saying. And I'm not saying you have to be educated at Harvard. I'm just saying know the you know, the beginning, the middle, and the end, so that there's something that's attractive. And before you approach me, and before you approach Desiree, for sure.
Okay, so this is the final question that we have. So Dr. Allison, she wants to know, since the interruption of COVID in March, how is it to complete projects? It's difficult to get funding to begin with. Has that stopped? How are you still getting the projects completed? that were stopped?
Me?
Yeah, projects that you're working on, or Janae.
So it's gotten a little bit harder, and where it's gotten harder is, I was always tasked with, if we're going to do a project, we also have to think about. I have an investor that I'm so blessed to have an investor that will fund stuff, but I don't just take that lightly. I don't just take the money. So I have to make sure that I can see an end. I can see that there's a, for if you business people in the room, the exit strategy, where's the return on the investment going to be? And before COVID, I'd gotten pretty good at, understanding where, and like knowing people that it could come from. And you could track, oh, this movie did this, so maybe you have this chance, but everything's gone out the window. So it's there's no one knows when people are going to start going back to the movies. No one knows when it's going to be, how many people are going to go when they go. No one knows when there's going to be a vaccine. So that entire source of revenue or return on the investment of making a film is no longer there. And so that's made it very, very difficult. But I guess
me, I'm on Zoom.
More than ever, it's about, now I have to take more of a risk, and I have to be a little more careful about what I'm saying yes to. And, it's kind of like I'm again, trusting my instincts of what I think is going to be successful, but it's made it harder for me to convince the people who I'm getting the money from.
Thank you, Dominique. And thank you too, Janae.
I want to hear Janae's answer to that, actually. Janae, what's your answer? Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm on the other side. I'm not financing them, but I'm trying to bring projects to financiers. So for us, it's consistently speaking with them, trying to, and as Dominique said, they're trying to figure out what it is that they want, and that they're looking for. And, a lot of it is, the uncertainty of when we will be able to go back into production, how big a production will look. So trying to find things that are COVID friendly, meaning a small cast, not a lot of big set pieces, will not cost a lot, but still entertaining enough that you'll get a good return on the investment. So I mean, it's been a challenge, but then it's also, I think, just identifying what those great elements are that people are going to get excited about. And it's an amazing script. It's going to be one of those things where you're like, who is going to want to go to the theater to see this when we actually are going back to the theater, or who is going to want to sit at home, whether it's streamed, and watch it when they have all of these things. And that's the way that we're thinking, is something that is commercial. It doesn't need to be, a 50 million plus movie, but something where people actually want to be engaged and watch. And I think that's the lens, and having the right elements, the right, the exciting director and the exciting talent. That's the things that we're trying to identify when trying to bring projects to financiers, to get them excited about it.
Well, thank you both, ladies. It's been a pleasure, really, really. I've learned a lot from you guys, and we're going to move forward from here.
Thank
Jacquil?
you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes.
This has been a wonderful.
I'm going to share the view with. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you could. I just want to say thank you. This has been a wonderful panel, and teaches about the business. I think it's really important to have a real, for you to be sustainable, is to understand the business side. I mean, because they call it, it's show, but there's a business. So I think it's, I think that was great. And if you guys have any just quick last words, and thank you so much.
I just want to encourage all the producers and filmmakers out there, again, if you have an idea, just do it. Get it down on paper. It may not be perfect the first time you do it, but once you continue to put the work through, it'll get there. So don't just sit on the idea, actually put pen to paper, or your fingers on your keyboard, whatever it is, and do the work, and get those stories that you want to tell out. And then you'll get to that place where then the next level will be networking with people to get them out there. But if you have the idea, go forth and create. Don't wait for someone to allow you to create it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dominique? Do you have
yes. The last words, yeah. Keep on pushing, but just know that it's not an easy road. Like, with company, the journey sometimes winds, but if you really want to do this, you can. just keep going, and we need more creators in our midst. The Brits now are just taking over, and I'm kind of love it, because there's a lot of talent out there, but there's a lot of talent everywhere. So let's do it.
Okay.
I know Haitians are creative. Let's go.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank
Nice
you
meeting
all.
you guys.
Welcome.